Hello, and happy and or blessed Welpurgisnacht, people of the internet. I'm not gonna do like a deep dive on Walpurgisnacht. God, I'm not German. Walpurgisnacht now because I only just started really looking into it. I have heard the name and sort of been conscious of it through research into atropa belladonna and its place in Walpurgisnacht. But I never really got curious until just really today. Partially, it's interesting to me that I know that the sabbats are largely not made up, but like they're, as far as my research has told me, there has never really been never mind, it's not important. But of the, in the wheel of the year and all the sabbats or what have you, the one that I still really struggle to find any sort of resonance with personally is Beltane. Where'd you go? You dropped your ball. Where did it go? Excuse me. I have some sort of resonant frequency with entropy and destruction for whatever reason. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I've learned over many years of therapy because, like, that part of me comes from experiencing things or just, like, seeing things that need to not be there, usually injustice, and wanting to deconstruct systems that perpetuate injustice. And, like, if matter didn't decay, there would be no creation, et cetera, et cetera. There are, species of trees whose seed pods don't open unless exposed to a certain temperature at a certain, like, level of humidity that is only really achieved through forest fires. Before white people fucked everything up here, from what I understand, there were controlled burns, or at least an ecosystem that sustained forest fires without them becoming catastrophic. That was pretty common. Hey, little baby. You want to come up? Anyway, so I really have always enjoyed the parts of the year that I associate with entropy, being fall and winter. And, I have a very limited understanding of Hinduism. However, I do really like the triad, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, Shiva, the destroyer, and I've always felt drawn to Shiva, the destroyer. I've always felt drawn to trickster gods. After fucking Dark Knight came out, I don't want to use the term chaos to describe my personality because I just feel like an edgelord, so I'm not going to do that. But deconstructing is always, what I'm getting at is the full-fledged abundance bit, the fertility aspect of life, the great. If you're into the whole maiden mother crone thing, the mother aspect, the, again, fertility. Oh shit, this is gonna get psychological, but I've always been really uncomfortable with the idea of, I've had nightmares, a lot of nightmares about both giving birth and about having a deformed child, and like it's always been really disturbing. And it's, Jesus Christ, it's not even Friday or Saturday, but like that is actually upon reflection, it's interesting that just because if I were to try to get pregnant and if I was unlucky enough to carry a child to term because of my MTHFR genetic mutation, motherfucker, it's a very low probability that that child would be okay. At the very least, they would have genetic problems like mine. But the rates of spina bifida, which is an exposed spine, rates of microcephalus, which is an exposed brain, very few viable fetuses, and especially with, I live in the South. Virginia's a good state to be in the South, but with what's happening to reproductive rights, for me to get pregnant now and not to be able to terminate if the child was not viable is an absolute horror movie. Anyway. And then there's also, I guess, a relationship with my mom anyway. I have always just, I don't like pastel colors. I don't like, I don't know, just spring, it's great. Oh, it's probably because my weird alternate, seasonal affective disorder, the depression sets in February, late February, where it starts to warm up a little bit, and then just gets worse and worse and worse. It bottoms out in March, and usually I'm able to have some sort of psychedelic hard reset in May or June. But cutting to the chase a little bit, I haven't done that, and I have had the reset, and that's what I'm getting. This is going to be a long video because I'm just babbling. Anyway, right, so Beltane, I feel like Walpurgisnacht, Witch's Night, is the way that I'm going to be able to come to appreciate Beltane. So, from what I understand, Walpurgisnacht has a similar spirit to Samhain in that it is, so it comes from the saint Walpurgis, whoever. I did not do research on her, but I just gleaned that, she was known to drive away pests, and that Walpurgisnacht sort of became a tradition of making a big ruckus and getting together as a community to have a big bonfire and just fucking go apeshit to keep away the bad shit, which of course in my research was reflected as the ancient enemies of humanity, but I think of as the things about the dark bits of humanity that come out sometimes in atrocity and shit like that. I think that it's Samhain is an opportunity to sort of vent the wild and chaotic and raucous and disruptive parts of ourselves, so that we don't end up being a problem, maybe, or having a problem. I don't know. It's just a guess. Atropa, belladonna, and wormwood are the two big herbs associated with it. I'm not sure. Wormwood isn't that toxic necessarily and can be medicinal. However, atropa belladonna is, people sometimes talk about it like it's a psychedelic. It is not. It's a deliriant, which is way different. That's also datura, and there are a bunch of Jimson weed, I believe. Deliriants are never, ever fun. Don't ever do this. I have only met a couple people who have resorted to deliriants or just fucked around when they were teenagers, but I've also read a lot of reports. I used to spend a lot of time on heroin, and I have met people who consumed an amount of datura, or in his case belladonna, that he didn't come back. It was just, he was off. There was really something had gone wrong there. And the way that people think that LSD is going to affect them, whereas like actual hallucinations where like you see shit happening and you can't tell that it's not real, that's a little bit more like what deliriants do. This is also what happens if you take the Benadryl challenge, by the way, so maybe don't. It's a little late to say that, but... So, from what I understand, a deliriant experience isn't like, oh, you know, the walls are breathing, or like I feel one with the universe. Deliriants are like you actually see and physically experience your grandmother's desiccated corpse crawling out of the ground, crawling into your lap and giving you, and like kissing you with tongue. Like, impossible to differentiate from reality, universally negative and traumatizing. That's just, you know, I can't help but talk about shit that I've learned in like my obsessive research about psychedelics and witchcraft and mythology and shit like that. Anyway, I think that I don't think it was ever called Devil's Night, but if not like the Christian devil, the more, what do they call him? Not the Man in Black, maybe the Man in Black. The other thing that happened recently that as much as I do witchcraft and am very passionate about my practice, I'm not actually all that into the more woo-woo aspects. I am very skeptical of things like Reiki. I need hard scientific, like, double-blind studies most of the time, unless it's a traditional thing that I'm researching. That's a difference. I don't know. I think belief has a lot to do with it as well. Anyway, while I have become less skeptical of crystals since I started sort of like looking into it and like working with them and you know, putting them in my practice, I've always sort of held this almost plausible deniability thing where it's like it's probably the placebo effect, or, you know, this is sort of an aspect of the thought exercise or a psychological thing. However, I've never forgotten something I read that Nikola Tesla said, that if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. And it is scientifically proven and true that different crystal grids, like the structure of different crystal formations, resonate at different frequencies. So I'm not going to disbelieve shit. Anyway, this is all leading up to, I've heard of Moldavite. And one time when my brother's ex-girlfriend told me that she was looking for some, without looking into it really, just like went on Etsy and bought some Moldavite that, like, I knew it was probably fake because it was cheap, but like I didn't consider me not feeling anything when I touched it like proof that it was not Moldavite. I didn't really expect that. Come on up, baby. Come on up, baby. Come on. You want to be part of the video? And you just want me to stop doing anything that is not paying attention to you with both hands. One moment. Anyway, just out of curiosity, and because research is like my lifeblood, I did look into just how to identify true Moldavite, like, independently of, like, that thing, like, ways to identify it that don't involve, like, feeling something when you touch it. I can't imagine that anybody who's here for the dog is still here, but in case, I hope that there was a little bit of coverage there. Fuck, I completely... So it's just some knowledge that I accidentally, or just absorbed, because I really do spend an inordinate amount of time not just like researching facts, but fact-checking and like validating resources and comparing, if it's news especially, comparing different biases and reading different. It's a bit of an obsession, actually, now that I think about it. But so I learned about, like, it's only really found in an area of Eastern Europe called Moldavite. This is all leading up to, I was at my local coffee shop the other day, and the barista had, like, a bunch of necklaces that seemed really cool, and I complimented them, and he seemed really excited to tell me all about them, and I was like, goblin kind. And he talked about, like, one of the, like, apparently he'd done a lot of volunteer work. Clearly somebody who I would like to be friends with, and he pulled one out, and he was like, and I found this when I was volunteering in Eastern Europe, and a friend of mine told me, and I was like, it's Moldavite, because I did recognize it. And losing all sense of decorum just because I'm so curious about this stuff, I was like, can I touch it? Because what I've heard in, like, the woo-woo community is that, like, even touching Moldavite initiates some sort of catalytic transformation. And I was really curious to see if that was true. And at first I attributed, like, the tingles going down my spine to the fact that, like, I had flirted with a really cute barista who seemed really excited to tell me things and was flirting back. However, that just continued, and then that night I just, like, lay awake thinking really, really hard and coming to some really difficult but necessary conclusions about my life, and had this really sustained and impactful moment of clarity where, I immediately recognized different, like, certain things in my life that I've been holding on to for reasons that are not good for me and are not good, like just aspects of my life that haven't worked in a long time, that I've been clinging to the detriment of everybody, and like, allowed me to identify a lot of things about myself and the way I can be complicit in behavior that is harmful to me, because I've been recognizing sort of my own validity in general, and recognizing that in the past when people have mistreated me, it hasn't actually been because there's something wrong with me, even though, like, sometimes people recognized scapegoating. It's hard to, anyway. That when people have mistreated me, it's not because I deserve to be mistreated. No matter, like, even if, God, like, even even if I, like, pulled the pile of stuffed animals down when I was 1.5, I didn't deserve to get beaten for it. I was too young to understand what I had done. And it's like, in situations like that, I have had this horrible cognitive dissonance where it's like, I know that what's happening is wrong, but it's still happening, and nobody is stopping it. And rather than believe that I can't trust anybody around me, I think out of survival, I sort of resorted to assuming that I must have deserved it somehow, and that what was happening was right. So that was just this huge meteor of clarity that, I had, fortunately, I had therapy the next day and EMDR, which has also, like, a lot of things have been coming into alignment, I guess, in my life with my business, my practice, my attachment to my community, my, like, relationship with my family, and healing from trauma. And I don't know, that was on Sunday, and it is now only Tuesday, so, I'm not, but it does remind me of the first time that I took LSD, when I sort of realized, I don't, like, even if I commit a social faux pas, even if I act in a way that my mom would not want me to act, there are people in my life who don't care, and, like, I don't have to try to be the person that I think other people want me to be. I can actually be who I am, and people will accept me for it. It's shit like that. Just like these really, I don't know. It wasn't a psychedelic experience, but what I gained from it, or just what I have, whatever it is that. Actually, I feel like actually attributing it to Moldavite might be doing myself a disservice, which I tend to do. That's sort of how I ended up. One way that I ended up doing too many drugs was thinking that I have to, in order to get the realization, or to be the way that I need to be, or to do what I need to do, instead of, well, anyway. I mean, I think, if that stuff is true, the Moldavite definitely helped, but I have been working really hard for a really long time, just to get to a place where I like who I am, and that I behave in a way that is in alignment with my values and doesn't hurt people, and value and respect myself, and feel wanted and accepted by my community, and have, reciprocal loving relationships, which I am working on. Shit's been going really well, and I am really lucky, of course, but I'm also really proud of myself, and I still struggle to say things like that. There's just this self-effacing culture in my family. But, fuck it. I feel really proud of myself because I worked really hard to get where I am. And, if I get fucking dragged to a camp because I'm a trans autistic political insurgent, so be it. At least I got to know what it's like to live a life that is fulfilling and happy, and at least I, found out what happiness looks like. This is really sappy. Okay, bye.